The tank engines howl. The entire unit is getting ready. Off we go. But after less than 4 kilometers, we are already halted. Mines. Pioneers move up, because mine barriers were discovered by the reconnaissance vehicles. This is confirmed by statements from the captured Russians. It first has to be cleared. Russians from the population assist with the search. They too want these satanic devices off their land. Of course, they witnessed where the Red Army buried the anti-tank mines. Eagerly, they indicated to the pioneers where they should dig. By radio, we were informed that we are going to have to wait a few more hours. We drive off to the site and secure our assigned sector. Up to here, everything went well. The anxiety has ceased. The driver, radio operator, and the loader had already rode with me, but the gunner had not. I watch him. He seems to know what he's doing. We use the brake and move our legs. There's little vegetation here. Therefore, it does not look good in regards to camouflage. The Red Air Force keeps getting ever more active, but there's hardly any fighter cover. So it's a good thing to have a few 20mm anti-aircraft guns along. Hours go by, it's already noon again. The cleared mines are stacked out of the way. I walk over to the pioneers to have the things explained to me. A non-commissioned officer of the pioneers agrees to show me the detonators and how the mines are actually set off. But much more important is how they can be disarmed. That's not complicated, but he cautions me that the Russians will frequently place 2 mines on top of each other. So one disarms, the top one pulls out the detonator, lifts the mine, and then the one below is triggered by a pull cord. Bam! The pioneers are gone. It's a big mess, but can happen, remarks the non-commissioned officer. Finally, the path through minefield is cleared, and we move on. To the Terek it's supposed to go, a river here in Russia with a lot of history. Suddenly, the red flyers are coming out of the clouds. 3 of them apparently want to get serious. We see to it that we scatter along the road of advance in such a manner as to not present an easy target. The 20mm goes into position and its shells are racing into the sky. Apparently, the Russians had imagined this a bit different. A brief shelling with their onboard weapons, which doesn't cause any damage, however, then the gang pull away. One of them is smoking, but he still seems to manage to get his bird into safety. Onboard it goes. After 30 minutes, we again have to stop. 2 Panzer IVs have run hot, and fuel is also getting scarce. The supply vehicles are pulled ahead. We complement our fuel. There's a quick situational briefing in the open field. The reconnaissance are expected back shortly. Then we will have a clearer picture of the situation. 2 hours later we move on. Enemy units are reported in 12 kilometers distance. In 3 spearheads, it's going into the assigned spaces in order to envelope the enemy if possible. It doesn't take long and we receive anti-tank fire from hidden emplacements. We attack with a lot of momentum, and in the coordinated attack consisting of shooting and movement, we quickly eliminate both anti-tank guns. Strangely, the remaining soldiers aren't fleeing, but keep up the rifle and machine gun fire. We then have to chase the fellows from their position at short range. My gunner handles himself well. I coordinate the targets with him. He then takes a bit longer to aim than I, but therefore the result, in my opinion, is good. He hits what he aims at. In order to load high explosive shells to go against the last Russians, when the call comes in over the radio, armored train. A colossus of thick steel is pushing out of a hollow and opens fire. The big calibers zoom above our tank turrets since the gun barrel mounts apparently won't allow a negative gun depression. Fortunate for us, bad for the following staff and supply train. Only the smaller 76mm guns quickly make it apparent to us that the Russians know what they are doing. The first tank is hit and breaks down in smoke, but he's not on fire. I hope the crew is lucky. Meanwhile, we are pumping one shell after another into the locomotive. Now the armored train is starting to retreat backwards. Then a hit in the boiler and the train rolls no more. We are already within 100 meters when there is a giant thud and our tank stops. My head is humming and I await the report from the crew. Radio operator, loader and gunner are unharmed and report. Only Hermann says nothing. A short time later we hear him shout, "Hit in the forward drivetrain, tracks off and a laceration to the head." So all's well after all. More and more shells are impacting the armored train. Then we cease firing. There's no more resistance and we can see the Russians running. The armored train is being abandoned, so we have some quiet for now. Smoking, we are standing by the tank and inspect the debacle. With this, we will have to wait for the repair platoon. We can't fix this on the side. The remaining assault unit now moves ahead in a wedge formation with merely 5 tanks. In the tank of our comrades, we have 3 lightly wounded. The Panzer III had already been hit hard. The crew are lucky that not more had happened. Now it's sit and wait. I would have liked to move on and lead my tank against the enemy. We are sitting on top of the turret. I'm viewing the dust development of our assault spearhead. When the staff unit arrives, I report our damage and the field repair unit takes a look at the damage. The radio vehicle came along. I'm leaning against the steps to the radio cab in order to catch up the current situation. In the distance, one can hear battle noise again. I ask the radio operator what was happening. Another armored train had caught the assault spearhead in the flank. Damn it again, where do all these trains come from? Is this a last rearing up in this remote corner of the world? We're stuck here. Toward evening, the forward drivetrain was removed and a spare part from the repair truck has been installed. I look at the impact of the 76mm. If the shell had hit just a little more toward the middle, Hermann too would have been finished. It's slowly becoming evening. We are staying with the staff. Since there are no houses here, we make ourselves comfortable next to our tank. After we've gotten something to eat, we are sitting together by the fire and are waiting for what will happen. Supply vehicles arrive and the anti-aircraft guns of the staff platoon are keeping watch at the sky above our little battle group. We will move on tomorrow. I talk to the crew. We recount what we've experienced. Hermann has got a decent headache, but that will pass. The laceration on his head had already been stitched up. In recognition, I tap the gunner once again on his shoulder. He shows a satisfied grin. Yes, good cooperation inside the tank is always important. With it, one can accomplish anything. A little wine is Found. We allow ourselves a little zip to go to sleep. The next morning, we are moving out together with the pioneer platoon and reconnaissance. Our assault group is supposed to be 80 kilometers to the southeast and already close to the river Terek. We drive through rough terrain and see the tracks of our tanks. We can also recognize burned-out tank wrecks of the Russians in the countryside. Further, even further in the direction of Mozdok, we drive. Then it's supposed to go across the Terek there. Soon we encounter the stragglers from our assault group. North of the city, we move into our staging area. Apparently the city is heavily fortified. We receive reinforcements from the 23rd Tank Division. We get into a bomber attack by 4-engined American bombers. Unfortunately, we have no fighter cover and receiving the entire blessing. Somehow, however, they dropped too late. More than 2/3 of the bombs are falling into open terrain. Lucky for us. Fighter protection is called in, but also the fighter pilots can't be everywhere. After a short situational meeting, we attack the outskirts of the city in a pincer movement. We make good progress across the Lenin Canal, but in front of the city, our assault gets hung up in the strong Russian defensive fire. We have to have the edge of the city shelled with artillery to destroy the fortifications and get it ready to be stormed. The heavy suitcases are flying into the positions. The forward observer is doing a good job. Not one stone is remaining on top of the other. The infantry soldiers are fighting through the ruins tediously. We clear one machine gun emplacement after another. Hard left of us, another armored train is reported, which is carrying 120 mm guns and was dishing it out considerably. By now, we know how to put these devilish things out of commission. So this threat is also eliminated in no time. Toward evening, we are gradually gaining a foothold in the city. In a fighting retreat, the Russians withdraw all the way to the Terek. We make good progress. The crew is coordinated. The gunner, his name is Fritz, performs his task well. We think alike, and therefore I don't have to say a lot. Targets are spotted, and quickly the enemy senses that there's a good crew sitting inside the tank who understand their craft. Toward evening, things quiet down and the fighting subsides. We are not through yet. It has to go across the river soon.